let me share this document as well, which sort of serves as my whole approach to the little talk. And I hope you all will interrupt me early and often. Let's make this a dialogue, and you can even show things that you want. I hope that you all have ideas and technologies and tools and techniques that you use that maybe the rest of us would like to know. But in the chat, here's the link to the shared document. And it's sort of an approach to developing a media project, first talking about techniques, being somewhat agnostic about the tools, and maybe you will have ideas about techniques you would like to use or have already used. And then I'll talk about a few of my favorite things, right? A few of my favorite tools that I just really like using. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. And I need to kill my email there. It's bugging me. Okay, any questions, or does anybody want to talk first? One thing I really like using, and it's underused in Blackboard Original, not as fully functional in Ultra, but a lot of you aren't worried about Ultra right now, is this feature called adaptive release. We can make Blackboard open up or release content based on a wide variety of criteria. And I think it can be very, very useful in instruction, especially if we want to present some sort of automaticity or self-paced aspect to certain courses. Let me just show you quickly what I'm talking about. So if I go into our PD2 course and I go into any content area, realize on the left there are these links, which can be external links, but are often just links to folders inside the auspices of the course. If I click on any of those content areas, any element, almost any element that I would create or place inside here, I can invoke the adaptive release feature. Has anybody seen that and used it? So you can raise your hand or nod, or just nod to yourself even. Okay, so this is a way I can set ground rules for when something comes open. And there are basic settings for this, and there are advanced settings. And in Original, you can even nest these. So students may have to meet one or more criteria before they can access whatever it is you'd like to keep restricted from them. Now, you can overdo this, I think, and you could also make these rules super complex so that they can break. Like if you have too many nested and statements, then it can be a problem. But just simply, let's say you want somebody to pass a quiz at a certain percentage before they get to see the congratulations message. Let me just show you how that sort of works really quickly. So what I did is I went into a content area. I found an item. In this case, it's just a module folder, a standard Blackboard folder. I hit the down arrow, the context menu arrow just to the right of it, and I went to adaptive release. Now there's an advanced where we can nest these rules, but I'll just do adaptive release. And now it's going to ask me, all right, what's your criteria? What conditions have to be met before a student can see what it is you want them to see? Well, I can make date a part of it if I wanted to. So I can set a date in the future or a date in the past if we don't want to consider that as a rule, or leave it alone. We can open it based on user. So we can say only this student has access to this particular item. That's useful. Say a student misses a test. You want the main test to go ahead and be unavailable or whatever status it has, but you only want that one student to see the new test that you're offering. You know, say you don't allow makeups on the same test so that students don't share answers or whatever. Well, you can find the student. So I just hit browse. Here pops up the course membership. I'm just giving Tahia access to this folder right now. Not really.
Chris, are you going to share your screen?
Have I not shared my screen? It would help to share the screen, wouldn't it? It would help to share the screen. Boy. All right. Can you all see our Blackboard course now?
Yeah.
Thank you for saying
yes.
So. That would have been that. It's already a little embarrassing. It would have been very embarrassing had I just kept going through. I thought I could have sworn I hit that. Backing up. See, this will edit out maybe. So I want to restrict access to a particular element inside the Blackboard course. So I just went into modules, and I can pick any of these folders. I could dig into a folder and pick almost any of these items. I'm using that term generically. And I can hit this context menu here, this little down arrow. You as an instructor will see it. Your students will not. You hit this down arrow, and I'm going to go to adaptive release. Now there's an advanced adaptive release that's where we can nest. We can have and or rules. So they have to meet 3 criteria or this one criteria that's by itself. We can get into trouble if we nest too many of them. But we can do it. We can be fairly complicated. I'm just going to go to adaptive release. And now these are the basic rules that I can establish when determining who I want to have access to this particular item. And this is useful you could in your media project say, look, I want them to watch this video and check a checkbox or answer 3 questions before they move on to the next content. So as part of your media project, you could build this functionality within Blackboard, the learning management system. So you could do it based on date. You can do it based on username or group membership. So whoever's in group 2, I don't think anybody at this point, but I could just say, I only want group 1 to access this. Why may I do that? One application is if you have a dual, like an undergrad, a lower level section and an upper level section, and they're both combined in the same CRN. So you could say, all right, I want 500 level students to look at this content, but not this other content. And I want my lower level students to, look at a different content set. So you can use it to break things up. You can also do it based on grade. So you could say somebody has to have a score of, if we look at the grade center columns, so we're going to say assignment 1, exercise 3, they have to have a score of less or equal to, notice that you see 10 points here. It would have to have less or equal to 9 points. Or we could do greater than or equal to 9 points. We can also put a review status check box on something. So instead of, I'll cancel this out. Let's say in order for them to access this content, they have to mark this message as reviewed. So I could come down here and I could click adaptive release, and I could say, I could browse. This pops up a little content selector, and I could say the message for me is in module 1. I could click that. And what that means when I hit submit, that the student, if they go into this folder, like if I were to preview as a student, there should be a mark reviewed button there. So students would have to click that box in order to reveal the content below it. So just getting you to think about, you can cause Blackboard to create a number of release conditions for particular content that you would like to restrict for students until certain criteria are met. And it could be group membership, it could be identity, it could be date, it could be particular score on an assessment. So there are a number of ways we can restrict access to that content, thus making a more interactive and adaptive experience for your students. I'm not saying you should do this in every instance, but I'm saying it's a tool that's available as you think about your media projects. Might you like to offer a video and then give some knowledge check questions and then release content based on the success in that assessment? Any questions about that? Moving right along. One of my favorite techniques is branch scenarios. So if we think about branch scenario very generally, consider see if I can bring this up really quick in a PowerPoint. think of your interactive as a story. And perhaps they will go along in the story. There's paragraph A, or part of the story A, and then they will move on to B. And then they will move on to C. But at C, there may be a decision path. There may be a choice for them to make. They may have to answer a question. They may just decide what happens in the story. You give them that choice, and then the nature of the presentation changes once they have made their choice here at this inflection point at C. And so that technique is pretty easy to establish in a PowerPoint, or using more sophisticated software, or even with a PDF, or even in a Google Doc. For example, I could have a number of slides here, and I could say this will now be slide A, and this is B. Oops. Sorry. And this is C. Let's say I want to make the inflection point at C, just as an example. And I could put in, what is your choice? I can highlight this text, option A, and I can create a link. So I can go to insert link. I can go to click place in this document, and notice that I have all of these slides. So if they were to click on option A, they might go to slide 4. If they select option B, I might take them to slide 5. So if we were to go ahead and play that as a presentation, option A takes us to correct choice. Option B takes us to wrong choice. And we could have a link and circle back to that original slide. We can move on in the presentation at various points. But this idea of branch scenario is very popular. Now, let me show you some real professional examples of this. Kathy Moore is a part of this Action Network group, and you'll see I'll put this text in the chat, or the link in the chat here. She develops these professionally for places like the Department of Defense, but you can click on any of these and we can walk through them. Now, she developed this one in Twine. And thanks for the meeting with me on such short notice. I've got another meeting in 15 minutes, so I'll be quick. I just need an online course about the personality inventory. Are you familiar with it? I've heard of it. So this scale tells you your personality type. When you know your type and the type of another person, you understand that they're different. Thanks. I'll be sure and look at the slide. So you see, we're just using hyperlinking to change the feedback that we get, and we can be much more sophisticated with these things if we want. But I just want to show this concept. Maybe let's look at another one. If I can bring up one I really like. I don't know that this one is available anymore because it was made in older technology. This is a really great scenario and it was developed for Department of Defense for officer training as Army and Marine officers went into Afghanistan, and they meet with a tribal leader whose name is Haji Muhammad, and they click through these various scenarios. She opted to employ sequential artists, comic book artists, to create the scenario so that it had a realistic look and feel, but they weren't on location shooting video and those types of things. Let's play that for a second and see if that can come up. So this is the connect with Haji Kamal, and you play the role of Lieutenant Justin Harrell, and it's your first deployment and brand new leader in the field. And he's about to meet this influential tribal leader. And in his cadre of leadership are these guys, Sergeant Manuel Ramos and Sergeant Kenneth Butler. And they are two people that have different opinions, and they will offer this lieutenant different choices as they go through the scenario. I'm not sure if there's any audio to this. So first, when they first arrive, the goal is to make a good impression on this tribal leader. We used to be able to click through this as a group. So when they first arrive at his house, they notice that the leader's growing cannabis, and he's worried, but he's not as worried about the marijuana as he is being asked to take food or beverage from the tribal leader. And so he's going to get some feedback here. What should he do?
He could just say, "No thanks, I'm not thirsty." It's okay to be direct if you do it respectfully, and Haji Kamal will respect him for being honest.
It would be more polite to say he's allergic and can't drink chai. Haji Kamal will know it's a white lie, and that's okay. They do it all the time here.
But that would start the relationship out with a lie. Lieutenant Harrell would have to keep it up for his whole deployment.
But he shouldn't just say no. He would offend the Haji from the get-go when we're here to build rapport.
And now we have three choices here. So, no thanks, I'm not thirsty. I wish I could drink chai, but I'm allergic. Thank you, I'd like some chai. If you reject the drink, and it doesn't give that option, in the scenario when we could click through it, instead of the tea, he would offer you some meat that's been laying around for a while. So I hope you get the idea, and I'm sure you've seen many examples of things like this. We can help you work through making a lower budget version of this without too much trouble. And any of the instructional designers that you'd work with can do that as well. But so I just want you to keep this technique in mind. I probably should have shown this slick thing first and then kind of showed you how you would do it in a PowerPoint. But we can do it also in a Word document. You can use this internal linking feature that many programs have to sort of bounce around within a document or bounce around within a PowerPoint presentation to give students feedback on a choice or series of choices that they might have. So this link gives you several different options here that you can sort of walk through, and any of these are straightforward. One thing about the sexual harassment training video, it's really slick, but they shot on location, and it would be very expensive. We could do that, but we need a small crew and quite a bit of time and a lot of script writing. So if it's really something excellent that you want to put together, our multimedia studio can accomplish that, but we really like to get the parameters straight. It's probably, given the timeline that we have here, probably wouldn't be suitable for this multimedia project. Everyone's familiar with screencasting, I hope. Has anybody never done a screencast where they've set up a recording? There's no shame in it at all, but I'm just trying to get a feel. Has anybody not done a screencast?
I have not done a screencast.
Awesome. So I'll show you a free tool here in a little bit that I can give you access to pretty quickly. I'll give you the special EKU link, and I'll show you kind of how it works in this session, and then we can get together if you're interested in experimenting with that. I use a software called Camtasia that I just really love because I like how it operates and ease of use. That's a paid product, but it's definitely worth your your investment of funds. But we have Screencast-O-Matic that's free to use right now. And then when I get you the EKU login, you don't have to stay with 15 minutes. I'd recommend you keep your videos, your screencast pretty short, but you don't have to. So screen clipping, let me just show you a tool that I'm getting tools before the techniques here, but I use a product called Snagit. And the way I invoke it, I have it set up as a key binding so that if I hit shift and print screen, I get these little crosshairs. Can you all see the crosshairs on your video? I'm not sure if you can or not, but then I can just drag over
Yes.
any point. Thank you. Any point on the screen, large or small. And notice that it gives me sort of a magnifying glass. So I can run right up to the pixel on a particular place in the capture that I want. And then it shows me below the little crosshairs, how many pixels I'm taking. So I can get an exact measurement of what I want. I let go of that. And then it takes it into an editor. And then I can take this image and I can send it to my Camtasia. So I can make it a video graphic resource if I wanted to. I can combine it with other screenshots. So notice down here, there's my gallery in the lower part of the screen. I can right click and combine those in a template. And so that means I can have like a custom set of steps. And I can give this a name. And now I've published my handout really quick. So there are the 3 graphics that I captured and combined into one. All I have to do, and then I can go from here and draw arrows. I can stamp this like for number of steps, like step 1, hit your name. Step 2, go to the calendar. I need to restart the numbering because of how it behaves, but I can turn the pointer around. If you've ever seen me send you an email with these types of little markers in it, this is the program that I use. I use it at least a couple of times a day. The academic version of it's very inexpensive. I think it's 20 or 30 bucks academic per, it's not a subscription. You keep it until you want to buy the next version, or you can buy maintenance with it. But I use it for everything. And it even does a fair job of video editing or picture editing. It's not great, but you could remove a background pretty handily. So I just love this program. And so I use screen clippings all the time. You'll use them if you ever make a handout or want to give a set of steps. This also captures video. So if you just have a very short amount of video and you don't need any editing to it, you just want to capture it, do like a screencast, you can use Snagit to do that as well. When you click capture, you tell it what options that you want to invoke. Is this going to be an all-in-one image? Is it going to be video and image together? Are you going to do just image, or are you going to do video? And then you select options. Once you hit capture, then it goes on to ask what part of the screen you'd like to capture. It won't let me show my picture in the picture because I'm already sharing it with you all, but I'm just verifying that my settings are correct. Am I using the right microphone? Am I using the right set of speakers? And then I just hit the record button and it goes. And when I'm done, I stop and I can export that anywhere. I can put it into Camtasia. So it's just a very useful screen clipping tool. One technique that I really like that we do quite a bit here is short video presentation with self-check. Let me show you something I did fairly recently for Martha Grappo using a program called Articulate Storyline. So if I click here, I'll send that link to you all. If you all run it while I'm running it, you'll get some feedback here in your speaker, but that's fine. Let me send it to you. So we started talking about media projects. In fact, she did it for this course and what she liked to do. And she had such a great sort of thematic idea behind teaching students, 101 history students, about world history, that I just thought we have to make a project like this. And it took me a lot of extra time, but I think it came out reasonably well, and she was satisfied with it. So what you're going to see is just sort of an intro slide. This is all self-paced, so we haven't restricted students from moving about. Once they click start lecture, they can jump around anywhere they want. We could restrict that, but let me let her talk just for a minute.
Hello and welcome to class. Introductory survey courses tend to cover a lot of ground, and this one is no exception. As an instructor, I've been asked to cover 500 years of history, not just of a country or a region, but of the world. As a result, I've chosen a few themes to serve as our guide through the story of the past. You can think of them as brightly colored threads, and world history as a large tapestry. These individual threads help hold together the larger tapestry. At times, they take some effort to spot, but if you look closely at the scene the tapestry depicts, you can see them running through it.
So I love this concept of thinking about world history as a tapestry. And another theme in this course was the concept of leaders, like monarchs, dictators, elected folks. And so I thought that was really great. So she wrote this script. We shot this video in our video studio on the 19th floor of Commonwealth Hall. And so one thing that I did was I had to go into Camtasia and edit her video. And I could maybe bring that up. I'm not sure if that project still exists as such, but it would look something like this. I'll just show you a more basic version. So she shot the whole thing, which I think the total shoot time, runtime of it was 12 minutes or so. And so what I had to do was take that, it was just over 10 minutes. So what I had to do was take that video, and then I had to add resources to it here. And you won't see the video's missing. That's why you see this little, I don't know what's going on, question mark icon in this video bar. But just at various points, she indicated sort of the elements she would like to have through the video. She wanted like some blue and green and red threads. So I found open source images just to introduce the video, and then various open source pictures of some of the figures and phenomenon that she mentioned. And so I edited this completely, and then I cut it up at the points that she designated. And then once those video clips were cut up, then we go into the Articulate Storyline product and put them in each of the storyline slides where they're called for. And so if students pace through that, then they'll watch all of these different video clips. So anything that you see that changes on this screen right here was done in the video editing suite. Now, if we go on, she thought that we should have some sort of an interactive timeline. So students have watched 2 clips. They've got the introduction. They figured out who has ruled. And then we just want to show them, just a very brief timeline of different regime changes, power changes within world history. And so this in itself is an interactive slide. So students, they could skip it. They could just move on by hitting the arrow, which means they would go from the earliest point in the timeline to the latest, or they could click around.
Is it all free features, or can we use this? Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Say it again.
Can we make this video, with using free features from is that Snagit, right?
I found these pictures, most of them through Wikimedia Commons. And
I mean the button at the bottom, or interactive button, or
these interactive pieces are all part of the Storyline suite. So the Storyline's available for download for 2 months for a demo for free.
So it's free for 2 months. But after 2 months, probably not.
No, it wouldn't be. And it's a fairly, there are ways to do this sort of thing for, like, we could do most of this in a PowerPoint, not as slick, but we could make that happen. But all of the instructional designers have this license. And so if you have a really great idea in your eCampus courses, let's develop this as much as we can in the time that we have. And then let's let that instructional designer help us in your eCampus courses to bring that to fruition. And once that resource is completed, you can use it wherever. And I'll also help you get there too, just depending on what it is. I'm glad to, we can do a lot together in the time that we have.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Sure. And then we have some more video. And then another interactive, just a quick choice question. Or this is not quite a question. It's like a frequently asked question list. What if you can't produce an heir? Well, that's the answer. This happened to poor Anne, Queen of Great Britain. What if the heir is deemed unfit to rule? Here's an example of such an emperor. So we have a nice drag and drop matching. This took a little bit more know-how, but it's not terrible. And basically you just, well, there's links in there too. Got to be careful with that. So we just put them in the right or the wrong place. When we hit submit, we get incorrect feedback. I can set the number of incorrect attempts that the students will get. I forget the correct order. But we could also use that to guide them to particular resources. So instead of, here, I gave them like 4 or 5 times, then they can click this laptop to review the rulers. It's very, very basic. We could embed video in this. We could embed additional links to resources. We could even have like up here is a navigation tutorial, like a tutorial that I created just to show them how to use this resource. We could also put lots of APA or other cited sources up here as supplemental information. But I really like this, taking a not terribly long video, but a little bit longer video, breaking it up into segments, and then offering something interactive for the student to do to confirm their knowledge or to just add some sort of enrichment. And we utilize this. I could show you many examples of this type of structure, and you can do it on your own. You can do video, like a short video, then a quiz in Blackboard. You're going to put this all in one folder and then release the next element based on the score on the quiz. And of course, you could offer an unlimited number of attempts on your quiz so that, in a reasonable number of attempts, they should be able to see the next content item. So we can mimic this very slick, well, maybe you don't think it's slick. I think it's slicker than some things. We can mimic this with the skills that we currently have, is my point. I like storyboarding. There are a number of ways to do that. Here in a minute, I'm going to show you a pretty low fidelity, easy to access way called Twine. In fact, I'll just go ahead and show Twine. So I'm going to go to twinery.org. All that's in the document too. I'm going to use in my browser. And I already started a story. And I'm just calling it EKU Campus with the premise that we could create a little virtual tour of EKU inside of the web browser and share that with students. So I double clicked on this. First thing that I get is I get one little card, if you will. And I named this card Turner Gate. So let's pretend like we're at the Turner Gate. And I put in an image here using HTML, and I could put in just regular text here. And then the branches that I get are determined by me hitting double bracket. And as some of you who are familiar with campus know, that there's a gas station nearby. There's also the Combs building. I believe somebody works in the Combs building sometimes. There's the library. Sada, I don't know if you're in Miller. I don't know what room they've got you in over there.
My building
Yes.
is that McCreary Hall.
McCreary.
Yeah, where El Centro is, where like the Spanish
Yes.
program. Yeah.
I just can't ever, I've been here years and years. I can't remember the names of the building. It's Miller, McCreary, and one other. But anyway, so I've got this now. If I close
She's over
that,
here in Combs with me on occasion now.
very good. That's good.
Yeah, I teach all of my classes there basically, so I'm there all the time.
Yeah, IT used to be in the second floor of Combs, and I was there for about 15 years. So I know that I should know all the names and every nook and cranny. But look what happened when I did that. So for storyboarding, even if you don't share this with a student, I mean, this is in just a few keystrokes, I've made a little map. So from Turner Gate, I can just drag Combs Building kind of over to where it goes. Bypass is maybe over here. Gas station is directly behind Turner Gate. Library is sort of over here. And bypass. Okay, so we got everything. McCreary's more like over here. So in just like a few seconds, I've made like a storyboard, or you can even use it as an interactive story. So you don't have to put images with it. You don't have to use extra programmatic features. If I run this thing, I'll just test it from here. And then I already put that image in there. And then you start your journey at Turner Gate. I could give a fairly long narrative. I could give a little more instruction about, where, which link they'd like to select, or this could even be a series of choices. Do you go through the gate, or do you don't have to say a location. You could say go through the gate, and you could have another slide called go through the gate. So let's just say bypass road. I have no content here, so it's not going to give me anything. But it's an incredibly useful tool, and you can also you can do quite a bit with it. Let's go back. I don't know how to get out of this sucker. Oh, maybe I go back here. Launches in another tab. But very quickly, you could have a storyboard. And if I wanted to give a image for the Combs Building so that a student could see it, then I would go find Combs Building. Got to be careful doing this because the images can go away. That's not the best representation of the Combs Building. That it got the construction stuff up. But I can just copy image link, come back in here and do image source equals. Your instructional designer can help you with all this stuff, and I'm glad to help you too if you want to use it. And then I should be able to do Turner Gate. Notice it wants to auto-complete the items that I already have there. So I'll go back and test from here. There's Combs Building. I didn't close my tag properly, but there's Turner Gate. Go back to Turner Gate. So this is a really great program. It's lo-fi, right? And it's sort of do it yourself with it too. But you could export this and have students run through a scenario just by doing some typing. You don't have to add pictures or video. You can, but you don't have to. I better speed up. I'm taking too long. So let me show you. Our studio is available to you if you want to go ahead and write your scripts. Many people opt to do an intro video for their courses because that's the lowest hanging fruit and the most utilitarian thing that they could do. I think that's okay. I would prefer that not everybody swarm our video production studio, but I certainly think for certain cases, it can be a nice professional result and a resource that you can use for quite a long time in a course that you teach frequently. But the link to the video production, old production site will give you several videos that we've done in-house. And I'll just paste that in the chat. You can look at that at your convenience. And again, it's in that document. Abby, when you say, I'm sorry, I took a bunch of minutes to get back to you. Was it the volume on my volume or the volume on the video that I played?
It wasn't your volume, it was the volume on the video that you played.
Okay.
I could hear that she was talking, but that was all I was getting.
Gotcha. I'll try not to do that anymore. We'll just mute it and I'll tell you what's going on. But you can refer to the link at your convenience if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let me bring up Articulate quickly. So it's one of the tools I like. It's one of the tools that our instructional designers use a whole lot. It's comprised of a suite of programs, but most of us use the Engage program. I'm trying to launch it right now. Oh, don't ask me to log in, are you? Okay. Just going to log in. I just logged in. Tons of resources in at the website, lots of templates that you can use, really quick templates to make anything that you want. It's trying to open right now. And here's the Martha Grappo history project. It's telling me that I'm missing some weird font that we used at one point. But this is how this this looks. All the main action happens in this one timeline. And then I have other timelines with resources that I may use and reuse. And on the face of it, it behaves and looks a lot like PowerPoint. And that's by design. That's because most people are familiar with PowerPoint. If you can use PowerPoint, you can probably do something useful and interesting in the program. And then it's just a matter of having a timeline here. So you have a timeline inspector, and all the things you place on the timeline, if they are not infinite, forever, and static, like if you just have a slide that will stay there until a student does something, then this timeline is very short and it just stops. But if you have music, like this has music, or the second slide has video and has about 1 minute and 48 seconds worth of video, then bringing that video in will make that play length elongate. And then all you do is put the elements that you want to introduce, whether it's an image or whether it's a button, you place them and at the point in the timeline that you want them to appear. And I mean, it's not much more complicated than that. You can make it pretty complicated. These interactives are a result of me using a product called Engage. And so Engage is a separate product, but it is essentially plug and play. And then when you create your Engage element, you just bring it in at the slide where you'd like for it to appear. So I've got Engage 360, and I could do a new interaction real quick, and it only gives you a number, finite number. So say I want a checklist, I can just say checklist. It will load that. And then I have an introduction checklist. Put text here. Select a sort of a stand-up avatar. They've got a huge avatar library. So if we want, I have to download most of these because I haven't used them. So here's Schaefer, very business casual looking person. And I can give Schaefer a different pose if I wanted, but I like that pose. Where do we want this? What size do we want? I want maybe a custom size, certain width and height. And then when we preview it, I think these avatars are maybe a little overused, but I think for the right situation, it's cheaper than video, in terms of our time. So we could have this person be someone we're doing a contract negotiation with, or somebody who has a child with special needs, or somebody that wants to be better with their business processes, or they're learning Spanish, or they are a native Spanish speaker presenting you with a problem. So, we can come up with all of these, various stories and use these avatars as representations. But when we click to the next item, then it gives us the second window's worth of content, the third window worth of content, the fourth window worth of content, and all that's defined over here. So you can download that immediately, and you can create these Engage interactions, and students like them. I haven't heard a single student say, "Man, you've got too many of these in a course." And that's low-hanging fruit. You don't have to do. You just have to bring the content, know which steps you want, know which particular interaction template might be the best fit, whether it's tabbed image or some sort of pyramid, a timeline. Figure out what fits, bring your content to it, and you're done. And when you save that, when you finally export it, it's yours forever, even if until the technology changes. The license doesn't make this expire. So I would give it a try. If you want help or want to work on something together, let me know. We'll make it happen. But this gets a little more involved when we come to a sort, like this sorting activity. I had to define each of these boxes. And so if you look at the timeline, there are 2 or 3 dozen discrete elements on this screen. But I could give this, like if you wanted to do this very thing in Articulate, I could give you the slide. So you don't have to do, you don't have to redevelop the wheel. I've talked a whole bunch. What questions do you all have? Do you want to see something specific? I have more tools I can go over, but it's better to hear from you all.
That looks nice, but I don't think we can purchase the license. And I know instructional designer, they can help us, but still it's not easy to contact and ask individual lesson lecture. So do you have any recommendation which provide most features for free and easy to use? Kind of, I believe most of us are beginner in this instructional technology programs.
Yeah. It's tough because everybody wants the money. One thing that some of the features may be useful is H5P. If you go to h5p.org and create a free account, you can create many interactives. And I don't know what the free account gives you. Like here's some, if you go to examples and downloads, here are some of the content types that you can access. And if there's a charge, I think it's going to be less than what Articulate Storyline is going to be. And I don't know what the academic pricing is. It's a subscription-based service. So you could have an interactive video. And here's an example. So video plays for a little while. So you give your video, you upload your video. There may be a limit on that. It's getting ready to give you a multiple choice quiz. That may be the quiz. Yeah, here it goes. So highlight the ingredients that we've added so far. I got them all wrong. I listed everything. I got points off. But you essentially upload the video and then fill out the form that it has. And then it gives you this interactive. I don't know that you download it. I think you host it on H5P's website. And that's the other downside, that if your subscription lapses, then you lose access to your content. I'm not sure, 100% sure about that. But it's all web-based. So there's no software that you download. You do everything inside of the web window. But here's a branch scenario you can do. But if you want to know more, I'll be glad to dig in there and get you details about that. What you get in 2023 with a free account, and how much it may cost moving forward if you want access to all the features and functions.
Can I ask another question? I see this week we have several videos in our Blackboard module, and there is a wiki explanation. I think EKU instructional design probably create the video. And do you know what program, what technology do they use?
So let's look at
It looks very simple, and I think this week wiki video. So, yeah, go ahead. EKU interactive tutorial. How to create a journal. So there are 2 videos. One is journal, the other one is wiki and journal. Yep.
this one right here.
Uh-huh.
This was done in Adobe Cap, I think. Let me see.
Hello and welcome to this tutorial on
This was done in Adobe Captivate, probably a 4-year-old version now, or 5.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure. And you can download that for free. The learning curve on Captivate is considerable, and all of you could do it, but I don't know how many want to take the time to learn Captivate with Storyline. And I know the cost, and I know there are good reasons why you may not want to pursue that, but I could show you in, 30 or 45 minutes, really getting started with a workspace and a workflow that would make sense. And I give you some resources and things I've already done. But Engage is, that's like with your content, if you know the steps, it's almost automatic.
Gotcha.
I mentioned this to one of you all in discussion board in week 1, but give Merlot a check, because Merlot is it is a repository of learning resources across all disciplines. And so I don't know what's going to be suitable for you and your students, but if I were to do a search on, somebody throw out a topic, it doesn't matter what it is. I went to merlot.org, like the wine.
Leadership.
Okay, leadership. Send me the link there so you don't have to type it. So we've got blogs, leadership theories and styles. And so it tells you the material type that it is. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's a great representation. It could be something that's not very useful for you. But as I'm looking, I see tutorial. This website from inc.com contains link to articles about leadership. So I like the concept of embedding a tutorial in my class. Maybe I can do that. Now, it warns me that I'm about ready to leave Merlot, which is fine. And so as I look, so it seems like just a lot are just resources, mostly articles, but this could be something useful for your students. Certainly Inc. is a known publication, I think, in business, isn't it, Tahia?
I guess I'm not familiar with this one.
It's not academic. I think it's more like
Magazine.
Psychology Today is for psychologists. It's got some useful things and maybe some fluff. But anyway, you can browse these, and you can also restrict your search based on material type. And you can also filter by discipline. So it's like when I'm looking for something, rather than starting to create it, I always want to go to Merlot, or I generally do, just to see what's out there. If I don't have to reinvent the wheel, it doesn't make sense to do that. And you can give that to the instructional designer, or you can even ask them, hey, I found these resources. Would you mind looking at a couple, see what you think? Or you may already know, what you'd like to choose and try to use. And all these are supposed to be free to use and repurpose.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I'm looking at the case studies, and case studies are really, really good with the business management classes. So I can see I'm just going to that side, leadership case studies, and then there's like the cases are presented briefly and the questions are there too. So I feel like it makes the job easier if you're trying to assign case studies for students.
And we could turn one of those case studies into a mini interactive. Like, if it's possible, if you think it would be feasible, we could simplify that and make a 10-slide sort of a branch scenario. Present the case in the first slide or two, ask an essential sort of branching question, and then give a consequence or a result of the choice. So we can do many scenarios as well. We don't have to have some long 2-hour interactive or 1-hour interactive that takes us 16 hours to create. And students like this stuff a lot. We do it in nursing quite a bit, and they really like it. Let me show you a couple of hidden PowerPoint 365 features. Let me start with Word. So I'm gonna log in, and I know our time's running short, but this one I think is almost worth the price of admission if you have a video. So if I go to myfiles.eku.edu, 'Edu. and I log in with my EKU credentials. Oh Lord, now I have to go do this two-factor thing. I did all this before. I don't know why it's picking on me today. If I start a new Word document, and let's say I have, first of all, I can have it dictate. You probably have seen that before. So I can just start opening, I can open my microphone. I don't know if I can do it in this video session, but all I have to do is start talking. And it's wanting to, hold on. All I have to do is start talking when I'm not in an actual live session, and it should transcribe fairly accurately the things that I would like to say at a fairly normal rate of speed. So that should work in regular Word, but it works here. And there's another little wrinkle to it called transcribe. So you can take any old MP3 output. So if you have a video that you want to get transcription for, all you have to do is upload the audio portion of that. If you need help with that, let me know. And it will transcribe that for you. You get 300 transcription minutes a month as part of our agreement. But it's a really great way. And then, you know, if you have a student worker or you just need to make edits to that, you can do it. And then you can dump that into, where Microsoft Stream's going away, but you could dump that into Microsoft Stream and it would make the captioning file that you could take other places. But just the transcript ability alone, students often will read your transcript rather than watch a 5 or a 10-minute video. So to me, that's a really useful feature. And this transcribe feature only lives in the web version of Office, of Word 365. You can't get it in the regular Word version, at least not as of last month. Maybe they've changed it. Another thing that I really like with PowerPoint, but there are other programs that have this too, is this design, the designer feature. This is our international speaker slides he sent to me. Let's say maybe I want a different design on them. If I come over here and click this design button, have any of you seen that yet? It's not so new anymore, but based on the text in the slide and the elements that you already have, when you click designer, it will go ahead and give you some design ideas that you can quickly, I mean, this is a bad design, but I really like this one. Like, I think that looks really slick. And I spent, you know, exactly 2 seconds making that happen. I can come to the next slide and I can click designer again. And sometimes it takes a minute. Some slides it won't do automatically, but many it will. And the reason it won't is because he's got some sort of animation in here that it doesn't know how to deal with. I'm not sure why he did that, but we could get rid of that. We could go none here. None. So now we don't have any. We should be able to go back to the designer and get some suggestions. And so, like, really quickly, like, to me, this looks better than that. Same content. It's just that it's laid out a little better, or even that. I like that too. And we spent no time doing it. Are you all familiar with embed? We're almost out of time. You all talk, ask questions. Tell me what I should have done differently. Glad to help you all as you consider these media projects. Again, I think the document does a better job of explaining what's possible and what are some of the tools than anything I said today. But I'm very sincere. Please let me help you with these. Let's brainstorm ideas. If you need some production work, I'll do what I can to help move things forward. If you get stuck, let's get you unstuck. And if you want to use the studio, let me know about that as well. We need a script, and we'd like for you to keep your videos under, I would say under 10 should be the max, but preferably 5 to 7 minutes. what your students will watch and what something it's not too onerous for you all. If there's nothing else, thank you all very much. I'm going to stop the recording and you